17, 10 a.m. in the Commissioner's Courtroom at the County Administration Building, 200 South Texas Avenue, Suite 106. First item is the invocation pledge of allegiance of the U.S. and Texas flag, Chapter G. Young Commissioner Catalina will lead us.
Father our God, we want to thank you for this day. This is the day that you have ordained it, and we're going to rejoice and be happy in it. Pray for our county judge, your county commission, as they do visits to Brazos County, always direct them, lead them, and guide them in the right direction and in the right path. But we realize that we cannot make it along in this world by ourselves. We need you. Pray for Texas and pray for our president and pray for his cabinet and pray, God, for all of our police officers, law enforcement officers whose lives are in jeopardy each day. Take care of them, protect all of us, because we need you. Now, God, be with each of us throughout this day. Everybody says amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible. Thank you, Chaplain General. Second item on the agenda is call for citizens' input and or concerns. Hearing none, we will move to number 3, presentation and discussions. Presentation of services offered by NAMI. Brazos, by there. Come on up.
Hello. Good morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to hear about NAMI and the services that we offer to the community. Very much appreciate it and appreciate what y'all do. So NAMI Brazos Valley is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm Julie Overstreet with NAMI Brazos Valley. I am the outreach director there. And it stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we're a grassroots nonprofit here in Bryan. We cover the 7 counties of Brazos Valley. And what we do is we look after individuals who live with mental illness as well as their families through support, education, and advocacy. So with regards to support, we've got support groups that happen every Tuesday night in Bryan at 6:30. We have one support group that's for folks that are living with an illness and a separate support group at the same time for family members that are supporting them. We recognize that mental illness also comes with trauma, and it's traumatic for the whole family. So say if mom has dementia, that affects everybody. So we definitely want to look after the family members and their mental health while they're taking on additional responsibilities. We've also recently started a brand new faith-based support group in Brenham, Texas. So that's a couple weeks going now, and we're really excited about that. As far as education, we've got NAMI signature classes, which are evidence-based, and we're taught to the model that we learn them. We become certified to teach them. Everybody in NAMI, from staff to board members to volunteers, all of our educators, our support group facilitators, everybody has a lived experience with mental illness and is living well in recovery. So we're not just coming at it from the book learned perspective, but we're also coming in it with a perspective of how we got through it, what we did, and the resources that are available to us here in our community. So some of our classes are like basics class, which is a parenting class for parents who have children with mental illness, because it's different to parent a child that has a mental illness than it is to parent a typical child. And they respond differently to things like discipline, for example. But then again, that class covers everything from how to run an ARD to what the different types of medications are, things to take note of for your doctor. It's very comprehensive. The other classes that we have are peer-to-peer, which is a class that is taught by somebody who's living with mental illness to other people who are perhaps new to their diagnosis. So, for example, the last time I taught that class, I had a woman in there who had gone her whole life without signs or symptoms, but when she went through menopause, she started hearing voices. And you can imagine how scary that was for her. Getting her diagnosis of bipolar disorder may have felt like a life sentence to her. So coming to this class and just being educated about it, that life goes on, that there's treatment options available for 90% of mental illnesses, was a real relief to her. Also meeting other people who are going through the same thing. And family to family is similar. It's taught by family members to other family members. Those are our NAMI signature classes. We also teach mental health first aid, which is a class that I love. It's a class that is an 8-hour class that we teach through the National Council on Behavioral Health, and it teaches professionals how to mitigate a mental health crisis. So what to do. We all know what to do when somebody, say, falls down in front of us and scrapes their knee, right? Or we can run to help, but what do we do when someone's experiencing a mental health crisis? How do we prevent it? And how do we respond to it should it occur? So we've been teaching a lot of that class, and we teach a lot in Brazos County especially. We've been teaching a lot of teachers. So they're required to take a class on suicide prevention, and this covers that. So we've been very excited and busy teaching that class. We're also teaching it to law enforcement and jail officers as well. I've taught to ministers and to folks that run the Celebrate Recovery support groups in the churches. I'd like to start another one for social workers. It's really for people who are on the front lines, who are going to deal with community people in stress and who potentially will have that type of signs or symptoms. So that's kind of what we do for education. I'm also teaching at the DAEP for Bryan ISD. I'm teaching kids that were removed for drug and alcohol, how to handle their emotions, how to deal with urges and not act on them, and how to move more effectively towards their goals. As far as advocacy, well, we're not in Austin and we're not in D.C., so our advocacy looks a little different here. What we do in advocacy is, well, every day is different. So if I get a phone call I got a phone call from a church that had a young lady who was staying the night there over the weekend on their front steps, and they didn't know what to do. And they tried to take her to a homeless shelter, and they wouldn't accept her because she still had drugs in her system. So they called NAMI. And, I was able to go and have coffee with the young lady. She was a student at A&M. She's an adult. So I was able to kind of assess for risk of suicide or harm. And I'm another set of eyes on this young lady. She wasn't ready for treatment yet, but I have coffee with her every couple weeks, and she knows where to turn. In other instances, I've held mom's hand when she was in the emergency room for daughter overdosing. And in that particular instance, I was also concerned about the safety and well-being of the young lady that overdosed, because, frankly, she's in fight or flight. She's going to wake up groggy, and she's not going to be able to flight. So there's a good possibility that she's going to act out, and I wanted to be there to kind of de-escalate things and make sure that she was looked after. So in advocacy, every day is different. Things that we're doing and that's kind of what we've been doing, something that we're excited to be launching this year, is our Homefront class. So my husband's a veteran, so it's something that's very dear to my heart. And we discovered right away that, well, the type of person that joins the military is not the type of person that shows up to a support group, and is not the type of person to ask for help. And that, unfortunately, leads to a really high suicide rate. So how do we reach our veterans? Well, Homefront was a class that was created by NAMI at the national level with the VA, and it's evidence-based class. It's very similar to our family-to-family class, and it teaches the family members of the military person, because they are often the one person that's already in place, that's trusted and that sees the signs and symptoms and really knows what's going on. So teaching that person how to respond to mental health, the right questions to ask, signs and symptoms, what to say to de-escalate a situation, how to communicate, that is invaluable. We haven't had a class yet. We were just trained on it in November. So we're scheduled. We did have a sponsor in Brenham, so we're scheduled to start the class in Brenham in June. And I'm hoping to bring it to all of our counties real soon, this year. So that's kind of what we've been up to. Do y'all have any questions for me?
I simply want to say that I am aware of the services that you provide, and I'm very pleased at how you have shared your resources with other agencies, and as you mentioned, law enforcement, the ISDs, and different organizations throughout our area.
Mm-hmm.
We are a much stronger community because of your efforts, and we thank the organization for what they do.
Well, thank you.
And are doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'd just like to echo Commissioner Colley's words that thank you for the work you do.
Well, thank you. I want to invite y'all to a couple of events. We're going to have y'all are some of the first to hear, so I don't even have a flyer on it yet. But we are going to have May is Mental Health Awareness Month, so we're going to have a proclamation that will be done by the mayor at our offices located, located at, on Briarcrest. So we're excited about that, and thank you for that. And then we also have our luncheon that's coming up on May 25th. So I included an invitation to you guys for that. So, thank you.
What is there, if anything, we can do as commissioners to help get you more well-known, more integrated programs in the community, be supportive in that way?
Some of the directions that we're looking at is we're trying to get a closer partnership with MHMR. We're already working with them, especially with our mental health first aid, but we'd like to work with them more fully. We're a small organization. It's really just me and the executive director. So, we're doing everything that we possibly can, but we need help. And so I think teaming up with an agency that's already existed in the community and it's well established, if there's any doors or opportunities that you can push for that would be awesome. We're also trying to work more closely with law enforcement and jail officers. And also, both my executive director and I came from CASA. That's our background. So we have a heart for foster kids. And a lot of these classes, this is how we got started in NAMI. We discovered that in our informal study, 80% of the cases that we were looking at had some sort of mental health issue. And, whether it was the parents or the child who's now seen trauma, right, who's now been through a lot. And so their cards are stacked against them when it comes to mental health. Or it could be the grandparents who are now taking on these kids and have no idea what to do having these kids who have seen trauma and are now acting out. The classes that we offer, I would love to see those become mandatory for parents who are going through the CPS system. The parenting class, for example, would be very beneficial. Learning how to communicate. I imagine that a lot of these parents they have a mental illness, they need treatment, and they've also not been taught how to be parents. Their parents weren't good parents, potentially, right? I remember working on a case, and mom got into meth. And she got out of it, and she got her daughter back. She just wanted every class possible that she could possibly take that was about parenting, and it helped her feel empowered because she had gone from an abusive home into an abusive foster care system and then married an abusive man, just had started getting into meth. And so abuse, that's all she knew. She really just didn't know. She didn't have the tools. So getting this class into the right hands, and then the support groups as well. I mean, if mental illness is a factor for these CPS cases, ongoing support in our support groups would be really beneficial. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay. We will consider and take action on agenda items 4 through 22. Board's Proclamation 17-018 declaring April Confederate History and Heritage Month in Brazos County.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Maybe I should get my glasses. Might read it, and then again, I might not. Whereas April marks the month in which the Confederate States of America was formed, and also the month in which it ceased to exist at the end of 4 years of struggle, known as the War between the States. Whereas the state of Texas seceded and declared itself to be a free and independent nation, and subsequently joined the Confederate States of America from 1861 to 1865, contributed over 115,000 soldiers, sailors, Marines to the service of the Confederate States of America. And whereas Texas and Brazos County are a collection of many cultures of diverse backgrounds, united by common history, whose sons engaged in honorable and distinguished service for Texas and the Confederate States of America, as well as the United States of America. And whereas our recognition of the Confederate history acknowledges that slavery was one of the causes of the war and was ended by the war and hereby condemned. And whereas the abomination of slavery divided our nation, deprived people of their God-given inalienable rights, and was a leading cause of the Civil War, slavery was an evil, vicious, and inhumane practice which degraded human beings to property and left a stain on the soul of the state and the nation. Whereas upon the conclusion of the war, many of the same citizen soldiers worked tirelessly to reunite and rebuild the country and forge reconciliation. And whereas we draw courage and strength and wisdom from our past in hopes of understanding who and what we are and move forward into the future together. Whereas Ross Kemp, 1457, of the Sons of Confederate Veterans of Texas Division of the Sons of Confederate Veterans, are historical, patriotic, and non-political organizations dedicated in ensuring the true history is preserved by seeking to honor their ancestors who fought as citizen soldiers in the War between the states and who, by 4 separate acts of Congress, have been recognized by the U.S. veterans and under the federal law and are entitled to the same respect as the Union soldiers against whom they fought. And whereas Confederate Memorial Day, April 26, has been observed in Brazos County for over 100 years to remember the devoted men and women who fought and died in Texas and to give thanks to their unselfish sacrifice that future generations might live free and prosper and never repeat the mistakes of the past. Now therefore we, Brazos County Commissioners Court, do proclaim April 2017 as Confederate History Month, Confederate History and Heritage Month in Brazos County and the state of Texas, and particularly role played by the Confederate veterans of all races and ethnic backgrounds in the history of our state and nation. Proclaim the 4th day of April 2017. Bill?
Thank you very much, sir. Since we met last year and did this same similar proclamation, we have found, with the help of Mervyn Peters, another 14 warriors in the Steep Hollow Cemetery, and they're flagged. By the end of this week, we'll have flagged all of the cemeteries in Brazos County. 2 of the people in the Steep Hollow Cemetery are in unmarked graves, so we've applied to the VA and gotten stones for them, and we'll be setting those stones soon. There's a Kaiser Cemetery just off of Highway 21 northeast of Coulter Field that has been unmaintained. So we've taken it upon us, the camp as a project to clean the cemetery up, and so we spent all of Saturday a week ago out there with chainsaws and folks cutting down dead cedar trees, and we're going to herbicide the fences and clean it up and reset a number of stones that were knocked down by cows because somebody so fortuitously took down a chain link fence so the cows could eat in the cemetery. So we put the chain link fence up, and that's one of the projects we'll continue, at least assuming nobody comes forward out of that group that owns the cemetery to take care of it. We appreciate the proclamation. It's nice to see all of you. Thank you very much. Do it again next year, I hope.
We voted on that, didn't we? Number 5 is consider and take action of a one-time waiver of provision of the rules for burial of paupers. Second. Motion made, seconded, and the waiver is to, our policy says that if the person dies in Brazos County as a pauper, we would bury him. But if they die somewhere else, traditionally we don't. This has had to be a veteran. He lived in Brazos County, and I believe in a nursing home, and then had moved, or temporarily had gone to Grimes County, and that's where he died. Felt like we should waive our rule, that particular rule of where we typically might not bury him, but if he was a resident, had been a resident of Brazos County, and had just for a short time moved to Grimes County, and he's a veteran. So that's the waiver that I was asked for this morning. And I think we've got a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 6 is request approval for the Risk Management 2017 Property Renewal Questionnaire.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion made, second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 7 is discuss and take possible action on the contract with Madison County for housing of pre-adjudication youth.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion made, second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 8 is discuss and take possible action on the contract with Grimes County for the housing of pre-adjudication youth.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion made, second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9 is discuss and take possible action on the contract with Walker County for the housing of pre-adjudication youth.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion made, second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 10 is discuss and take possible action on contract amendment with Leon County for housing of pre-adjudication youth.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion made, second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 11 is discuss and take possible action on contract amendment with Houston County for the housing of pre-adjudication youth.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion made, second. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 12 is approval of the no award for RFP 17251 surveillance video system for upgrade to BCDC.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made, second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 13 is permission to advertise RFQ number 17273, professional services for various design, surveyor, technical services.
Second.
Motion made, second. Discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 14 is approval of contract 17295 with Strong Surveying for Stousland Road project not to exceed $2,200.
Second.
Motion made, second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 15 is approval of easement and damage waiver with BTU for additional service requested for Expo Expansion Phase 3.
Approval.
Second.
Motion made, second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 16 is consider and take action on Welborn Special Utility District to estimate of $19,730 for lowering and encasement of extension of 4-inch water line, the distance of 40 foot across the expansion part of Cherokee Drive. This work is needed in order to accommodate widening and improvements made on Cherokee Drive, sites located precinct 1.
Move approval.
Motion made, second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Number 17 is approval of treasurer's report for February 2017.
Second.
Motion made, second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Number 18 is tax refund application.
I'd like to move approval of A through D.
Motion made, seconded, A through D, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Number 19 is Commissioners Court minutes for the following dates.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, A through E, discussion. All in favor say aye. Opposed? None motion carries. Number 20 is budget amendments. Budget amendments FY16/17, 27.1 through 27.8.
Move approval.
Motion made, second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 21 is personnel change of status.
Move approval.
Motion made, second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries. Number 22 is payment of claims. Claim to be paid by Brazos County, claim number 7154226 through claim number 7154467.
Move for approval.
Second. Motion made, second, discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Number 23 is acknowledgment of City of Bryan, Brazos County Economic Development Foundation, Inc., Independent Auditor's Report and Financial Report for the year ending September 30, 2016. And 24 sheriff report on inmate population. Sheriff.
Morning, Judge, Commissioners. First, I'd like to tell you that we have visiting with us this week our 6 members of the Lafourche Parish Jail team. They're learning how to work in a direct supervision environment and learning the basics of inmate behavior management. They are in the transition process of moving from an indirect jail and building a jail very similar to ours. So they wanted to know how to do it. And Sheriff Craig Weber contacted us and asked if we would help, and we said we would. As you'll remember, we did the same thing. We went to a couple of jails.
I'm happy to hear that they didn't have to fly all the way to Las Vegas to find out.
All right. We also went to Lubbock and one of the jails, 3 and 4, that's right. So, anyway, that's what they're doing, learning how to do it, and we're helping all we can. So today, our peak in the last 24 hours is 644. 559 are male, 84 are female. We have 60 with ankle monitor and 17 pending.
Okay, Sheriff, thank you. Number 25 is announcement of interest items and possible future agenda topics. Hearing none, number 26 call for citizens' input and/or concerns.